What's up, guys? It's about that time for another Strength Side podcast. Before we do, really liking this track. It's actually a new song that the artist that I use in most of my YouTube videos, Lakey Inspired, just put out. So I've been jamming it. I'll put the link in the description. I always do, to his music. Very cool, dope music, and he makes everything copyright free, which is like unbelievable, right? So if you want to jam out some more of this, I'm gonna turn that down though. The other thing before we get started is I was gonna share this backpack. Very cool company, builtforathletes.com, I believe. They sent me this backpack because I reached out to them. I told them I was interested in it. I saw it on Instagram, and it has been treating me right. I've had it for about a week, and for me it's perfect. I think for a lot of you guys out there that are going to the gym, working out, it is really built for athletes. Let me show you. First off, it looks pretty dope. America. I think they're actually an EU company, so they sell all the little flags. Built for athletes, but it has unbelievable amount of room in here. A lot of compartments. Got my parallettes in there. I was training on those this morning, doing some handstands. Let's see what's in this compartment. I think I got just got my water bottle in there. We got this little guy up top. Oh, they're basically all unzipped. I always forget to zip my backpack pockets. Got my little wallet from Guatemala in there. Timer. Got my tripod because I was filming stuff that you're going to see in this podcast. So anyways, guys, dope company, dope backpacks. I'll probably buy another because they got some other really cool colors. If you're interested, there'll be a link in the description. But now, I'm gonna sip a little bit of this coffee. Oh yes, and podcast time. Welcome to the Strength Side YouTube podcast that you can only find on YouTube, at least for now. Guys, what is up? How are you? What's going on? Today, I'm gonna talk about a phrase that gets kicked around the Hash household quite a bit. I guess just between me and my girlfriend. Hey, what's up, Chrissy? How are you? And that's move different, think different. I love this phrase. I wrote this in an Instagram post a while back, and truth be told, I don't know if I made this up or, more likely I probably heard somebody say this and it was in my subconscious and I used it. But I love the phrase, and move different, think different. Move different, think different. So another thing I mentioned in a community post recently is that I went to a music festival a couple weeks back and, just camped out for the weekend, no cell reception, so no electronics. And it was, when you're in that state of just kind of not having all the technology distractions and everything, I find that it's very, it was easier to kind of reflect and to see where you're at and to just kind of examine what's going on in your life and how are things progressing and transforming. And it really made me realize that, a lot of the transformation that has gone on in me, it's related to movement. I think that movement and what's going on in the mind are completely related. And when I think back to when I was only lifting weights and I was, really stiff in my body, as I always say, I was also very, very stiff in my mind. I think that I thought that I had things figured out, which is probably common for a 20-year-old to think, 20 to mid-20s. You kind of think you have the world figured out. But I was really not open-minded. I thought I knew the things that I needed to know. I knew the type of person that I was, and I'm putting quotations around that. And I followed that to a T, and I wasn't really open to anything else. And I've talked a lot about, a few injuries kind of sent me into different ways of training my body. And around that time is when big transformation happened in my mind as well. And I became a lot more open to other things. And I wanted to just explore life a little bit differently than I had been up until that point. And this brings me back to the phrase, I'm this type of person, which I think everybody has had the thought at some time or another that, well, this is the way it is because I am this way. This is the type of person that I am. But what I saw was, in the changes that I was making in my training, which led to changes in my body, that kind of unlocked my mind to see, oh, wait, I've always thought that I'm a inflexible dude. I always thought that I just had shitty mobility, and that's the way it was because I'm a guy and I lift weights. But I started to see that, I could change my body. I could become a flexible person. And this started breaking me out of the I'm this type of person mindset. And really, I think just started changing all of my self-limiting beliefs. And, we can get a little woo-woo here if we want, but, whether you believe in, the law of attraction, the secret, whether we believe in that or not, I think that it's very hard to accomplish something if you don't think that you can accomplish it. And when you start changing things in your life, you start to see, oh, wow, if I can change this thing, I can probably change this thing, right? If I can change the way that my body moves, then I could probably change, some of the habits that I have in my daily life as well. And that was very powerful. And, the last 4 to 5 years have just been unraveling more and more experiences that shape who I'm becoming, because it seems that, all the new experiences that I have lead to new growth in myself. And this brings us back to our phrase, move different, think different. So I think we have to understand that different is very relative, person to person, right? So for the person who's been doing yoga for the last 10 years, different can be going to the gym a couple times a week and starting to do some pull-up training, right? For the person who's been powerlifting for the last 5 years, different can be starting to do some body weight leg strength exercises, right? Different is relative, and you can keep on pushing and pushing into more difference, to more different things, I guess, right? But it usually starts with just very small change, like, I've been doing this. I think this is really good, but what if I try this other thing? What if I just start throwing in something else that I'm not really familiar with? And I think that what you'll find is that those things will become more and more interesting to you because you haven't explored them, and because, frankly, probably aren't good at them, right? And that's where a lot of the growth in training and in life happens, is when you look at those things that you're not very good at and you say, hey, I'm going to explore getting better at this, right? And it's going to suck for a while. I'm going to look like I'm flopping around. But eventually I become competent in this, and I gain a lot from maybe the skill or the habit, but also from the process of, going at that thing. And I'll share an example from my own personal journey. When I started wanting to free up my body, it was just about, wow, I'm so stiff, and I need a lot of mobility training, and I need to become more flexible. And as I was able to do that, then, like I said, the relativity changes, right? Because then I'm more flexible, but I still don't feel all the way free in my body. And then you start to see, oh, okay, well, there's more to feeling free than just being flexible, right? I knocked that one off the list. I got out of that stiffness, but I still want more freedom to move. So now, how about I start trying to control my body through different ranges of motion? Now, how about I start learning different movement patterns and trying to become competent in them to gain more and more control over my body, which then creates more freedom, right? So the thing that started me down the path keeps me going, but as you get further down the path, what you do might change, right? So who knows where you may end up eventually, right? So the more that I spend time in this realm of fitness and health and movements, the more I've become into personal transformation. What can your physical practice do for you that's outside of your physical practice, right? Because it can do a lot, but I think with mainstream fitness, we are trapping ourselves in a box. And I think what you'll find is the more and more you get out of that box, the more you uncover about yourself, right? And that's kind of what, well, I don't want to say that's what everyone's after, because that's not what everyone's after. But if you're here, you're watching this video, I have a feeling that that might be important to you, and what I'm saying might resonate with you. And if it does, then, like I mentioned, you just start changing small things, and those are going to have that snowball effect of building into bigger changes over time. Guys, thank you for spending this time with me. I greatly appreciate you. I do want to say all the skills and the things that you see me doing in the video version of this podcast are all things that I've learned over the course of studying and practicing the Ido Portal method. If you are dedicated and super interested in diving in deep and unlocking a lot of potential in your body, then I completely recommend the Ido Portal method. You can just Google Ido Portal, you'll find everything. As always, if you have any questions about the material we discussed or movements from the video, leave them below, and if they get enough thumbs up, then maybe we will discuss it in a podcast to come. Last thing I'll mention is that I have been working kind of on the grind on a strength and mobility program that I'll be putting out here in the next couple weeks, called Move Strong Now. Some of you guys that have been around for a long time remember I had a free program called Move Strong Now. I'm building it up into a complete full body strength and mobility program. So just make sure that you're on my email list if you're interested in that, and I'll be sending out some details and doing a pre-sale hopefully in the next couple weeks. All right, guys, appreciate you. Subscribe to Strength Side, like the video as always.